Hey, how you doing?
Hi
This is
there.
this is Dr. Dave in Austin, and we have this week's blog, um, which is pretty good. We just heard that our YouTube account
Oh yeah,
we've got over 100
subscribers.
subscribers
Yeah, it's
now,
pretty
which
sweet.
is absolutely amazing. So, in the
Yeah,
mortal words of Sally Field, you really love us. You really, really must love us.
Sally Field quote. All right, we're getting started strong here. Uh,
Ah,
Today's blog is called "What's the Difference?" So again, thank you for everybody. If you want to subscribe, or mostly comments are the best thing for him. He loves to like stay in touch with everybody. So we have patients texting in, or if you're not a patient and you don't have our text line, you can always leave a comment and we'll get back to you and kind of keep the conversation going. So
yeah, we're kind of done with the Israeli and Russian robots leaving me comments. I'm not so interested in timeshare and Bitcoin.
right. But mail order brides still keep sending those in. That rules. No. Okay, so we'll get rolling here. Thank you.
Yep.
What if there really are no truths, only stories?
Wow.
Stories that have been told so many times that most believe them to be true. And if so, what would it matter anyhow? Does the story work? Is it beneficial to people? Can they use it to keep the show on the road, as it were? Voltaire once said, "There is no God, but don't tell my servant, lest he kill me in the night." That's a good one.
It's a beautiful
Yeah,
quote.
that's a good one.
And you'll see how the story, and it's not, you can say, oh, stories are stories. It's all stories. I've actually read that it's all an illusion and all the rest of the stuff. Maybe, maybe not. But it is definitely a story. And does the story work?
Hmm.
And that's all that matters. As I've said before, way back when I was in college, my minor was cultural anthropology, and it was amazing. Some of the stories and the various cultures, the traditional cultures had about where this came
Hmm.
from, that came from. Oh, it worked. They didn't kill each other. Nobody starved. They got along.
Right,
There was no crime.
right,
What are you telling me? These are weird stories.
right.
It worked.
Just real quick, so we don't offend anyone, that's not that we are not believers in gods or anything, or God or anything like that. It's just
Right.
it's a great quote to like use a story as a device to manipulate people for bad, right? Like and keep them down, right? So that's that, and all religions have been used for that purpose in the past for one reason or another.
Well,
So
this
um,
particular quote is that, God is everywhere, and so that's the whole thing. So if everyone thinks that and knows that, or however you want to look at it, I know we're skating on thin ice.
right.
Hey, fantastic! The Ten Commandments are absolutely brilliant. We should live them all every single day.
I'm probably getting ahead of myself here in this, but I want to say it before I forget something because I had a little thought here. Is like on your point of like these people have a story that every day the sun is kicked into the sky by a dude on the other side of the earth, and then he, in continuing his soccer juggle, like receives the moon and then fires it up. But they're happy. We have quantum mechanics and the Big Bang Theory and stuff, and those are our tales, right?
Yeah.
And um, many of us are running around, wigged out and pissed off, and with a vengeful heart and stuff like that. It's like I don't know that that story is really feeding us maybe in the way that it should. I don't believe that the guy kicks the moon up or anything like that, but
No, it's
it's
a
kind
guy
of
in a
curious to
chariot
think about.
that goes across the sky.
Sure, whatever,
That's
yeah.
Greek
But
mythology.
those people like love each other. They have a great family unit and everyone's happy. It's just kind of a curious idea. So
Yeah.
what if the only answer to why is why not? A friend once told me of a philosophy class he took. No tests, no quizzes, just a final with one question: why? Of course, the only answer could be why not? Can you imagine 3 hours to take a test, 30 blank pages for an answer? Would you have had the courage to write why not and turn it in for a semester grade?
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No real explanations, no reasons, just stories that work. They somehow answer the whys and how comes. In his book Sapiens, Harari claims that the thing that allowed Homo sapiens to rise above all was our ability to create lore. It wasn't bigger brains or tools or fire, just an ability to tell stories that the group could agree upon as the reason why.
Yeah, and you do. You have a story, you have a belief. You say that the sofa people created the world, and so on and so forth, and everybody digs that the sofa people did that, and they get along. And that's the operative thing. They get along. They're not cutting each other off in cars and flipping each other off and taking and pulling people out of cars and beating them to death in the streets and all the rest of the crazy crap. So the sofa people created the world. Fantastic. We all get along. I get to eat, you get to eat, you have a great family, I have a great family. It all works. And you got to understand this. That's the operative thing, that it works.
There's a workability to it.
It works. It works. It
Right.
works.
We have so many people that come in, patients and clients and stuff, that tell us that, the three road like walks around the block backwards are what healed the knee, or sidestepping up North Mountain is what fixed their low back pain. Great. I am
Fantastic.
absolutely not here to tell you no and ruin the
Right.
story that you've created for yourself that is working currently, making something successful and improving your lot in life,
Right.
right? Like, that's why would I tell you that Lord's like, we're obsessed with knowing why I have to stare at my phone, because of dopamine receptors and this and that, and
Oh,
I'm getting a quick, but it doesn't improve anything.
nothing.
It's just, oh, well, I know why. And it's like, but you still do it. You're still at the red light staring at, what I mean? Like, it's not workable in that sense, what I mean?
Right.
Because it didn't make life better.
Right.
Um, I don't know.
Just for this, I mean, how much better, just think of this for a second, how much better and cooler was the world when Santa Claus came and visited you on the 24th
That's
of
the
December,
best example.
or the Tooth Fairy came and left some quarters. I guess it's $20 bills now, but I mean, wow. I
Yeah.
mean, it just you're happy, you're all excited, you're whatever, and you're running around wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, and it's all great and it's all wonderful and everything else like that.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of in part, my wife and I, my wife's pregnant, and we're trying to keep that a secret from ourselves. Not that she's pregnant, but the sex of the baby, because there's just very little mystery and fun and surprise left in the world. We have to go in and dissect everything and think that we have this great, detailed, nuanced understanding. But when you kind of pick back at that, it's no better than um, kind of the Santa Claus thing,
Yeah.
honestly. So yeah, kind of leaving some of those surprises around is fun.
As weird as it sounds, if you can discover the actual why of something, it ceases to exist. And you say, hey, that'd be pretty cool about my back or my knee or something like that. But I'm talking about everything, the actual why of this table, that computer, the wall, this building. And so you get this idea that you strive and strive and strive to find these whys, to find the truth and all the rest of the stuff. And the truth is that there probably isn't any sort of a truth. And the real truth of it is, if you knew the real truth, there would be nothing. So why don't we just back off a little bit and go with Santa Claus and deliver presents this year? I think that would be so cool.
Right.
Go to the North Pole and have a cocoa and deliver presents with Santa Claus.
Right. So this posit from Harari in Sapiens could be nonsense as well, like what we were talking about as well. It's kind of this, just another story of why.
Yeah, it might not
Just
be that we discovered or were able to come up with lore, but that's what he's saying it is, and that might just be a story in and of itself. So
right.
it doesn't matter. You don't have to believe any. You
Right.
find what works for you, and that's what you do.
We've talked about this in a lot of other things, or I've heard Dr. Dave talk about this, is this like kind of obsession on needing to have a viewpoint on every issue. And it's really kind of strange that would be unhealthy, because we're like, well, I need to know what I think about the Kardashians' thrice removed son of the third basketball player that it's what hasn't, you know what I mean? You might as well be thinking about the person kicking the moon up into the sky. Like, it's
Call it
that silly.
insanity and move on.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a huge fan of Appalachian Jack tales, like Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack and the Robbers, brought to this country by immigrating Scots and the Irish. They have their roots in English literature. One of the best storytellers we know for this genre is a man by the name of Donald Davis. And we've actually heard him storytell, and he is amazing. Yeah, that's true. That was cool. That was cool. Davis tells of a time when he was a little kid and his mom and dad accidentally ran over a cat. His parents told him they would get him a new one, but this just didn't sit right with young Donald. The next day at school, he was still upset, and his teacher asked him why. My cat was killed for no good reason, exclaimed the boy. His teacher explained to him that sometimes animals can be injured beyond their ability to recover, and so they die. Donald had his explanation and reason and brightened right up, realizing that his cat was injured beyond its ability to recover, and that is why it died.
Yeah, and that's all he wanted to know. We sat here and ranted and raved about not knowing why, and I'm sure and it'll say here there's 1,000 different reasons why that cat died, but they found the thing that worked for him, and he could go on. Oh yeah, my cat was mangled too badly to survive. It wasn't that he wanted a new cat; he wanted to know why that one got squished or
There's
died.
some buy-in to that story from him. You know what I mean? And so where we're constantly kind of being massaged to all share the same viewpoint, you might find that some of these stories don't sit well with you. And you're chewing on that, and like your cat's still dead and you're not satisfied why it is, just to use that as an example, or your knee still hurts. And it's like we have so many people come in and they're told this story from other practices or surgeons or something else, and it just doesn't sit right with them. There's no buy-in from them. And I think that's almost as important as the method that you would go about treating that knee with, is there has to be this buy-in from the person my cat was killed because it was, what's he say, injured beyond its ability to recover or whatever, So I think that's just a huge part of it, whatever the story is, regardless of
so I guess what
truth.
we're saying is just come on in, and boy, have we got a story for you.
Oh yeah, we'll make up lies like you can't believe.
We can come up with a story.
Absolutely. No, but there is,
but if it works,
it's crazy. I mean, I run this one machine, and it does so many things that, it could be seen as this like panacea for joint pain, and it's working all this stuff. But as I'm talking with somebody, you kind of see what the specific thing is that they're looking for, right? And it needs to be able to do this. And so you bring up that piece of what that machine does and how it's going to improve that. And that increases the buy-in, the believability of that story. It's not that, and again, it's not that this machine does everything or nothing. It's that that it's going to do the thing that you need it to do, right? I know that's we're revealing trade secrets here, right?
But it really is. It's just about help, and you will find that the stories that work the best for you are the ones that you realize that you can be helped, or that you're able to help somebody else. And I personally find that those are the best stories. So
yeah. There are probably thousands of reasons why the cat did not survive, but this one worked, and Donald could move on. And that's the point. It's all stories. The only reason, explanations, and whys are the ones that work for you and others, and keeps the show on the road, allows the journey to continue and the game to be played. In terms of aerodynamics, do you realize there is no way an airplane or helicopter should fly?
Really?
And yet they do. Pretty good story.
That's
right?
A good story that an airplane flies. But you think about believability and stuff, because aerodynamically they shouldn't, nor should a helicopter.
Science itself is actually the best story at the time, and the one that seems to answer the most questions at the time. But it doesn't necessarily make it true, does it? Mm-hmm. And this is exactly how we want it. The best story until a better one can be told. Yeah. The question is...
Especially from science. Right. And that's it. So if there's something that seems to work, you shouldn't be trying to prove something. Like I've said before, science should still be out there trying to prove whether or not water is wet.
Right.
Just because it was the last 1,000 times doesn't mean. But yeah, and that's basically it. It's the best story at the time it seems to work, but you have to be willing to shift gears when there's a better story and something makes more sense. And you'll see that there's a lot of hidden meanings in what we're talking about here with the variety of things. When you hear what science does for us, and science this and science that and all the rest of the stuff, and leading scientists say, well, what's a leading scientist? Are they out racing? Is it the one that's ahead of everybody else? What's a leading scientist? What are experts, you know? And that's really where this is coming from, in that you should make your own stories. You can listen to other people's stories, and if it makes sense to you and it works, well, fantastic. If it doesn't, throw it out. You don't.
Right.
You can always make a different story.
Because the prevailing view is one in Western medicine where we're just kind of throwing these medications at people and seeing what sticks. And so,
It's
we've
a
got
story.
more and more people that are having, um, what's the stuff? Botox put in for trigger points and migraines and this and that, or this heart medication's been shown to
Grow
shrink your
hair.
toenails or whatever. It's like, and then we're just so their stories are ever changing, right? You should play by the same rules as them, and you don't have to have buy-in or belief on all these things, because they're all of that side is really fickle too, right? It's like this works until we get sued enough times, and then we got to pivot and figure out a new use for this thing. Oh, and one of the side effects was this good thing that it keeps you from getting sunburned, so now it's a sunblock, or something. And I'm making all this stuff up, but it really does cycle through that, and everybody's heard those stories,
All stories.
so
It's
yeah.
all made up.
So again, kind of to wrap up here, the question is, does it work? Does it keep you and yours, your kinfolk, heading on down the highway? That's the name of the game. Then what difference does it make? Yep. So if it's workable, if it's believable, if it's helpful to you and your crew and those people outside of your sphere, and your universe, that would be a good story to keep near and dear until, like he says, a better one comes along,
Yeah.
right? That helps even more.
Yeah. Just yeah. So that's the whole key. Just keep in mind that you're listening to stories every time somebody's telling you this is absolutely, and we found out and we discovered, and everything else. Truth of the matter, if they did, everything would disappear. That's heavy, but good.
Well, we
Well,
did it. That was, believe it or not, my first read through on this, and I wasn't blown away by some wildness. So hopefully you weren't either.
yeah.
Cool.
Well, happy story time.
Yeah,
Grab some
absolutely.
milk and
Yeah.
cookies,
Pick up
and
a kid's book and
that's
walk
what I
around the
yeah.
block
Yeah.
backwards, whatever,
I bought all the
climb a
Dr.
tree.
Seuss books. I'm
Yeah.
currently going through Beatrix Potter's Peter Rabbit stories right now. I bought Velveteen Rabbit, all sorts of
Yeah.
stories.
I
Stories.
read the Harry Potters to my wife out loud, so hopefully I'm sounding slightly more literate as we're working through these. Well, thank you very much. Yep.
Thank you.